5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You know those two guys from work who won't shut up about football, but are pretty damn entertaining? Well, they decided to buy a couple microphones. And with that, we welcome you to the CheesyCorn Sports podcast, where Justin Adams and Martin Chaney wrangle over everything college football and NFL. Bold predictions, hot takes, and live game reactions. This is CheesyCorn Sports.
Yes, we are. We have arrived.
Let's do it.
Could y'all hear my countdown?
Yeah, I was very confused because I thought our mics were like auto muted, but I also couldn't see your voice. Like I couldn't see your mouth like moving at the bottom where it's like the small little screen.
Yeah.
So
I was kind of like this.
I was very confused.
I know. I just wanted to throw everybody off. You know.
Consider it done.
Sounded legit. All right. Well, welcome in to the first edition of the Friday CheesyCorn Sports podcast. We are going into a few different things here on our first episode. So we're going into our start sits from last week, seeing how we did in those, some of our start and sits from the season in its entirety. And then we're going to talk a little bit Joe Burrow injury and CJ Stroud for the MVP conversation. Where do we have him? Do we have him in the top 5, or do we think he's just offensive rookie of the year material? So we'll go into that. Don't let the shirt give it away, but we'll go into that on this episode. But I'm Corn, and that over there is my friend Cheese. How you doing today, Cheese?
Doing good. Also want to get into some mid-season awards.
Correct.
Little second half predictions. What else are we talking about today? Huh? I mean,
we can go over some of our league winners that we personally
winners. Trade deadlines are coming up for a lot of leagues after this week. So maybe some buy low candidates for second half, some sell highs, that type of stuff as well. We can cover it all.
Yep. Today. These are a little casual. You know, we're gonna take comments and stuff like that, and callers eventually. So as we do on our Sunday version of the OnlyFantasy CheesyCorn Sports show. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. What are we going to start with? Do you want to start with our week 11 starts and sits of the week?
I ain't gonna lie, I don't have my week 11 starts and sits.
I mean, I'm sorry, week 10.
I'm still surveying the field.
Right out of the gates. We're killing it.
Hell yeah.
Week 10. I forget weeks. Okay. Like this has been a thing all season. So week 10, what do we got for week 10? We'll go over yours first.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Let's get into a little week 10 recap, right? Specifically yours and my starts and sits of last week, kind of see how they fared and whether we were, as I like to say last week, self-proclaimed genius or, you know, how normal people view me.
Yeah.
So,
very dumb.
Let's get right into it. Yeah. We'll start at the quarterback position, right? QB start of the week last week for myself. Kyler Murray did finish as QB 13, so right on that fringe QB1 territory. First game back, finished with 18.26 PPR points as per Sleeper, the best fantasy football platform out there. If you're not on Sleeper by now, what the fuck are you doing?
Not sponsored, but Sleeper.
Not sponsored. That is a genuine opinion of mine.
But Sleeper, if you're interested, we will sell out. We will sell out hardcore.
That'd be a huge fucking sponsor.
We'll sell out. We'll do whatever you want.
Holy shit. I'll have the Sleeper beanie, scarf, t-shirt, everything.
Yeah, we'll change our show to Sleeper Podcast.
CheesyCorn Sports.
And Sleeper Corn. There we go. Sleepy Corn.
Sleepy Corn. There it is.
All right. Well, we saw with the little guy, the little vertically challenged. I don't know if I can say the M word on here, but I'll say midget. I don't know.
I did not hear M. I'm not gonna lie. I was
M as in Mike, midget.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Now I'm like yelling it into the mic, so we're really screwed now. But Not a fan. AZA2 swag with sleeper swag. Not a fan of Kyler Murray, but yeah, good call, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he beat his projection.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I mean, it wasn't that I liked him last week. It was just easy matchup. If he was going to come back and do it against anyone, it was probably going to be I forget what team he fucking faced.
No, it was a good call though, because I thought he was going to have a down week, but he
but
does a little bit with his legs, and that always helps in fantasy.
Little and legs is two things very commonly said with Kyler Murray. So
yeah, mainly and
Atlanta.
Injured.
That's who it was against.
Don't forget injured.
Yeah. So I don't have a banner up for it, but do you remember who your quarterback start of the week last week?
Joshua Dobbs.
25
point. What was it? 25.12, his highest total of the season. Can't even find the locker room. Can't even find the locker room. And did you hear the conspiracy theory on that?
With the locker room?
Yeah. Somebody was like, well, somebody thinks he might be put on a show because they were like, the locker room's the easiest thing to find in the stadium. But apparently they practice somewhere else. So I don't know how true that is, but there's a theory that Joshua Dobbs is a fraud.
Yeah, just like that planted fan for the Chargers.
Hey, she wasn't planted, bro. I'm telling you, she was legit. She looks just like William.
I believe she was legit too.
She looks like William Hung, though. Almost exactly. I posted side by side.
She was getting hyped for sure.
But anyways, yeah. 25.212 points, his highest total of the year. And he, let's see. Went into that game 24.92 the week before and 24.92 the week before, but it was still his projection was 15.16, which was his lowest of the last 4 weeks, and he finished 10 points over that projection. So Joshua Dobbs,
even more importantly, finished as the QB3 on the week. That's the big piece. We can talk about like the points and stuff all day. And if your guy scores 20 points, that's great. But if your opponent scores 100, well, fuck. You know what I mean? I think the positional finishes are a huge thing here, which is kind of like where I'm like on the fringe with like my Kyler Murray pick, right? It's like, it was okay. Like, yes, he did beat projection.
Yeah.
But there were 12 other quarterbacks that were available, that you could have had instead higher.
Yeah.
And so if you're in that 10, 12 man league, that usually means that, there were a couple different options out there, whether it be through the draft, trade, whatever, that would have done better for you.
Yep.
So
fun fact though, Joshua Dobbs is QB7 on the year.
Yes, he is.
7.
Yeah.
And everybody thought I was crazy. And he only had 0.98 week 1. People thought I was crazy when I picked him up in our league.
Yeah. Additionally on Josh Dobbs, let me read you the rest of his schedule here. Right? He's got Denver next week. Fantastic. Then he has Chicago.
He has almost 17 projected points next week.
Yes. Then he does have the bye week. But then he has the Las Vegas Raiders, followed by the Cincinnati Bengals, who are a bottom 5 pass defense in the league.
Detroit.
The Detroit Lions.
Green Bay and Detroit again.
Yep. Green Bay Packers and then Detroit Lions.
That's a great playoff schedule.
Dare I say a potential game-winning playoff schedule.
Yeah.
Or league-winning, not game-winning. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I'm arguing with how much the Dolphins run the ball, starting Dobbs over Tua at this point.
Yeah.
Although Tua's consistent, but so has Dobbs. He has been, having 0.98 week 1 and then coming out and being the QB7 overall. His lowest totals were week 5 and 6, where he had 10 and 11. But so Joshua Dobbs, man, killing it this year. Great story. I don't believe I think he found the locker room. I don't think he practiced in the stadium. I don't think it's conspiracy. I think he's a nice guy. And you should be nice to him because he has alopecia.
Yeah.
Like Jada Pinkett Smith.
When he got traded to Minnesota, I was actually upset because I don't like to root for
in division
or Bears players, and so it's a shame that Minnesota just has this they love to get those super likable quarterbacks, right? Like Kirk Cousins, you know what I mean? And then there's Hey,
like
you
that.
go from Kirk to Dobbs, like great.
Yep.
Now,
But that's why people are trying to ruin it. And
yeah. Now I get to be the hater.
we can have nice things. Wow. Way to hate on a guy without alopecia.
Right?
It's dirty. All right. What's your
Keep
next
my quarterback's name out your mouth.
On that note.
On that note, indeed, we'll go to the running back position where my running back start of the week,
Killed
Mr.
it.
Rashad White,
Finishes
the RB 11, 17.8 fantasy PPR points on the week. Against Tennessee Titans, tremendous. It's something that I don't think people are saying enough about Rashad White this season specifically is that he is he was RB1 last week. Let's get that straight. Or 2 weeks ago, my bad.
But against a 2 touchdown game, right? Against Texans?
Yes. With 27.9 points.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Against Houston Texans. He was the RB1. But he has been a RB1, meaning a top 12 running back in each of the last 4 weeks with finishes of RB12, RB10, RB1, and RB11 this week. Probably not going to do it this next week because he has San Francisco 49ers, but he is getting that volume. I'm ignoring Chris's comments here.
Great comment.
But Rashad White, also the RB10 so far on the season. Oh, and we lost Justin. Love it. But yeah, so Rashad White is definitely doing his thing so far.
Imagine accidentally backing out of the studio.
Yay, Justin's back.
What the
but
hell
also,
happened?
he does have some good matchups in the second half of the season. Indianapolis Colts, Carolina Panthers, which is, what a gold mine that is. He also does have Atlanta on the schedule again, which he scored 15.9 points against last time. Has Green Bay on the schedule with their Swiss cheese hole-filled defense. And then he's got Jacksonville, New Orleans, and Carolina to finish out the season again. So, they are using Rashad White.
A lot to like. I still think he's underrated in fantasy.
Yes.
But, however, I don't necessarily know I don't really know if there's an opportunity for him to actually, start losing touches if they start implementing the pass more. I think he's been getting more touches just because they haven't been able to pass the ball well. But and more opportunities, a lot of touchdowns too. So touchdowns are unpredictable, but I still think Rashad White is slightly underrated in fantasy. Some people still have him ranked in mid-20s.
A big thing with Rashad White is he's not the most efficient running back through the tackles, right?
Right.
Excuse me, Anya. Thank you.
So he's like the opposite of like James Cook, where Rashad White gets the volume, but he's not efficient. James Cook's very efficient, but doesn't get the volume.
Yeah, he has. He's got 5 games so far on the year of 15 rushes or more. Not to mention the 4 additional games of 4 receptions or more.
Yep.
He honestly doesn't even have that many touchdowns. He only has 4 total touchdowns on the year, 3 on the ground, only 1 receiving touchdown.
I'm just talking about the last couple weeks where he has, I think, 3 of those 4.
3 of his 4 touchdowns on the season have been.
So more so talking about the uptick lately in the touchdowns and how those are unpredictable. So looking at his most recent performances, that's a factor in those too. So,
yeah. I think Rashad White is just kind of having this magical moment of a season, just for the simple fact that there's no better running back on the team. The
and
Buccaneers were a big candidate to go out and get one of those top running backs in the draft or sign someone in the offseason, and they just never did. And Rashad White is doing his thing. Again, yards per carry, not the best.
Yeah.
But he's hyper efficient when you target him through the air.
Yeah.
His yards after the catch is actually amazing.
Yep.
And now he's starting to find the end zone. So
he's a great. So Baker just by nature, Baker is limited. We know his limitations as a quarterback. He's a very low ceiling guy, so he checks the ball down a ton to Rachaad White, and that's where most of those come from. They're not really designs. A lot of them are just Baker checking it down to the middle of the field. 2-minute drill situation against the Texans. He was just boom, boom, a couple plays, and he would break those, like you said, yards after catch, break a couple tackles in the open field. So that pass game is what really props him up.
Yeah. All right, let's move on now to your running back start of the week. And that was Najee Harris, finishing as the RB9 on the week with 18.6 fantasy PPR points against the Green Bay Packers. And that's with Jaylen Warren still doing his thing as well.
Yep.
So
that is the highest of his finishes for the week. So I had 3, I think, highest finishes of the year on my starts. So yeah, Najee Harris is a running back I actually don't like. Him, I drafted him and Ramondre Stevenson in our GSOC league because I didn't, I was trying a different draft strategy. So I drafted 2 running backs I don't like.
Sure.
I put him in kind of that Ramondre Stevenson level territory where, it's just, they are guys that get volume. Najee Harris is a guy who gets volume, but has never been efficient. So, but we know that, right? None of us came into the year expecting him to be efficient. We came in for the volume. However, I don't think we expected Jaylen Warren to have this much of a role necessarily. And Najee's just like, if he's not getting a ton volume, he's not going to be very good. That offense is not as good as we expected. The Steelers in general, that offense isn't good as we expected. So that's holding him back. But yeah, I felt like risking it for the biscuit. Green Bay not very good against the run. So
yeah, absolutely. One thing I will say on Najee though is that he had a excruciating first half of the season schedule.
Yes,
and after this week against Cleveland, every single opponent of his for the rest of the season in terms of fantasy is a bottom half of the league defense against the running back position.
Yep.
And that is Cincinnati, who we saw the likes of Gus Edwards, Keaton Mitchell, Justice Hill, they did their thing last night. Keaton Mitchell, didn't have a good first half of the week, but or first half of the game, but he did start to get some of those nice long runs in the second half. Gus Edwards, two touchdowns last night as well. And then he has Arizona. Then he's got the Patriots. Then he's got the Colts. Then he's got the Bengals again. And then he has the Seattle Seahawks in the Fantasy Football Championship. And then he's got Baltimore to finish out the season. So Najee Harris might be a very nice buy low candidate, or Jaylen Warren if you want to go down the chart a little bit further. Because
better do it quick though. Trade deadline's coming up.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Get on it.
If we're going to identify some of these buy low candidates now is the time to do so. And I think Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, given those schedules, you could definitely go trade, like a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, or something like that for him.
My biggest buy low right now is probably Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's probably should be one of the consensus buy lows right now.
Yep.
All right, let's move into so John in the chat, we brought this back out last week. I don't think you were here. It's your twin, man. It's your twin there, Mr. Matt Patricia.
Oh, man.
It's a fitting image, isn't it? You love to see it.
I still don't even believe that that's John, honestly.
And for Chris, I'll bring out Bryce Young. There we go. All right. Let's go to your next one.
All right. Let's get into my one of my top 2 favorite calls that I had last week. My wide receiver start of the week last week.
We have a question.
Mr. Noah Brown of the Houston Texans finished as the wide receiver 6 with 24.2 PPR points And that is with no touchdowns. Keep in mind, 0 touchdowns last week. Had 170 something receiving yards
Kind of
off
crazy.
of like seven catches.
No, you don't.
Yeah. So Noah Brown, I'm very happy for. Not just because I called it, but I mean, yeah, a little bit because I called it.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
one of those talk yo shit type of moments.
Yep.
But, he did very, very good 2 weeks ago. And then, you have Nico Collins not coming in again.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a better opponent as far as the pass defense go.
Yep.
So it was written in the stars. If you didn't see it, taking a strong
class.
I don't know what to say.
Great, because I believe he was the wide receiver 2 behind absurd CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they birthed a little wide receiver named CeeDee Brown. So,
yeah.
Quick question in the chat: Flex, Jalen Warren or Tank Dell? I'm going Tank Dell. Non PPR. I still like Dell. I mean, Dell's getting involved a lot. I mean, they've been handing the ball off to him, so I'm almost expecting him to almost try eventually here to take on some kind of role of Deebo Samuel type of thing where he's getting many touches. But I still think the upside's there because he's scoring touchdowns. In CJ Stroud, the what they have together, that connection that they have, fantastic. CJ Stroud leads the league in passing percentage and QPR for over 25 yards. So, and Tank Dell's his deep ball threat. So I think right now Dell has to be in lineups for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Tank Dell has definitely been a huge part of CJ Stroud's success because you're seeing CJ do his thing even without Nico Collins in the lineup. Multiple weeks now, right? It's not just a fluke anymore.
Yep.
He's balling and he's doing it with any single person in the lineup.
Throw the ball to. Dalton Schultz is the leader 1 week. Tank Dell's the leader. Noah Brown.
So at this point, if you have the tight end or one of the top 2 wide receivers for the Houston Texans for that week, I'm throwing them in. No questions asked.
Tank Dell has taken over Nico Collins for the lead in targets, and I believe Tank Dell is now the wide receiver 1 on the team. I think that connection's too good. Tank Dell is going to get more targets than Nico, and not only more targets, what really matters in fantasy is touches, and he's definitely going to get more touches because the ways they can use him. So, and he's a returner, so that's always there.
Absolutely.
9-1 worry about the Seahawks schedule for the playoffs, so trade away Kenneth Walker for Tony Pollard, also Charbonnet from to my bench. Charbonnet, so Charbonnet for Tony Pollard. I like that. I haven't really looked forward to the let's bring up the Cowboys schedule real quick.
Let's do it.
See what his playoff schedule is looking like. So we have Carolina week 11, Washington 12, Seattle, week 14's Philly, and then week 15's Buffalo, 16's Miami, and 17's Detroit. So
it's not the best, it's not the worst.
It's not. Let's look at Walker's real quick.
Good old Kenneth.
I traded away Kenneth Walker as well.
Yeah, he's got Philadelphia, Tennessee, and Pittsburgh for the fantasy playoffs.
Ooh, that might be rougher.
But he also, and then week 12, he has San Francisco. Week 13, he has Dallas. Week 14, he has San Francisco again.
The problem with Walker right now is I agree with trading away Kenneth Walker for Tony Pollard. I think that's great because last week he had a long touchdown run that saved his week. Otherwise, he was at 5 points at that time. That got him to that 19, and he stayed at that 19 basically. Yep. Weeks before that, 8 on a 41% snap percentage. Week 9, 2.7 on a 49% snap percentage. So Charbonnet is expanding his role in that offense. And Kenneth Walker is now a boomer bust type of guy because, I mean, just like last year, he was relying on the explosive play. So it's more of the same this year. He's just relying on that big play, and it's hard to really just kind of wait on that to happen because obviously there's weeks where he doesn't do it. So
Yep.
Diminishing role and all that. I agree with that. Tony Pollard is a great person to have for sure.
Yeah.
And John hates me.
Even when
wait, what? Tank Devil's available in our G-Sox region. How the heck?
Well, yeah. I would have traded Kenneth Walker for Tony Pollard, even when Kenneth Walker still had the snap share.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So the fact that you were able to do that,
but it is standard. It is standard
Great.
though. Remember, it's non-PPR.
Sure.
So that changes things a little bit. However, I'm still rocking Tony Pollard right now.
Yes. I think that example is a perfect example of serving as a reminder that it's the second half of the season now.
Correct.
Rookies are needing to be treated a little less like rookies now. Yep. They have now started to establish themselves a little bit more, and you're going to see their snap share start to take over. You're seeing it with Tyjae Spears and the Tennessee offense. You're seeing it, Tank Dell has always been one of the top 2 receivers.
But his role is expanding slowly but surely, and now he's in the firm conversation of top 15, top 12 nearly conversation.
Yep. But Zach Charbonnet is like the prime example here, right? Because it's the exact same thing that we saw last year with Kenneth Walker in that same exact role. Now, the only difference is Kenneth Walker is the one losing the touches to the rookie. So,
because he's had 41% of the snaps, 49% of the snaps, 48% of the snaps. And his, he's not seeing a lot in the pass game. He's had only 2 targets the last 3 weeks. His highest of the season was 5 in week 1. So he's seeing an inconsistent number of attempts, 8 in week 8, 9 in week 9, and 19 in week 10, and still was very reliant. He only had 3.32 yards per carry.
Yeah.
My camera's frozen, but I'm going to continue.
Oh, look at that.
So here's his last 2 weeks of yards per carry, 1.78 and 3.32. So efficiency, not good. I'm going to back out and come back in so I'm not frozen like that.
All right. Yeah, let's keep it going. Sorry for, the full screen of my ugly mug. But, let's keep it rolling here. We'll get into my tight end start of the week, which was my other top favorite call. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself because I wanted to look like a genius.
I'm back.
Completely skipped my man Corn's wide receiver start of the week last week. Christian Kirk finished as wide receiver 23, 13.4 points on the week.
Not great.
It wasn't great, wasn't bad. If you flexed Christian Kirk or started him and he got you 13.4 points, okay,
feeling good about it.
If I lose with that, I'm not fully identifying him as the reason I lost.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't lose you the week, so I don't hate it.
So I'll accept that. I didn't steer you wrong necessarily.
What's Christian Kirk's?
So my wide receiver start of the week last week. Did I have 2? Mine was Amari Cooper. Yeah, Amari Cooper
your start last week.
Yeah, he was. Amari Cooper, because he had 20. Remember, he had 24. Yeah, 24.9, and then went out with injury. Yes, sir.
Against who?
Oh, I'm sorry. Amari Cooper was week 9. Never mind. You're right. Christian Kirk. Damn it. Amari Cooper is just going to be my best start of the year. So I apologize for the confusion there. You're correct. Listen, my camera's not.
I'm like trying to write these banners on the fly, so if I miss something.
I just want to keep you on your toes.
That's fair.
Keep you on your toes, bro.
Completely fair.
I don't know how I missed that when I was looking through the video for my wide receiver start of the week. So good catch. Let's get into your next one, because I'm embarrassed by my 13.4.
All right. Just real quick here, talk a little bit about Christian Kirk and what you see for him as far as the second half of the season goes, while I get some of these banners up still.
Yeah, the thing about Christian Kirk, right? Calvin Ridley has basically become useless in that offense, and everybody was expecting a breakout year for Ridley. That was an ascending offense, and somehow Trevor Lawrence is nowhere to be found anymore. He has more interceptions and touchdowns, I believe, on the season.
Yep.
So that offense can barely support one wide receiver this year, and it was supposed to support 3. So not sure what has happened, but Trevor Lawrence has lost the sauce this year, but Ridley is still seeing a consistent target volume. It's been pretty much a good dead 13 points like all season you can kind of rely on for Christian Kirk. Overall, just the offense is what's really going to limit him this year. However, if that offense gets it together, Christian Kirk is going to take off. That 13 is going to be 20 every week, and he might be able to turn your league into a fantasy winner, but that is relying on Trevor Lawrence and that offense to figure out whatever's going on. And I don't know what it is that's going on over there, but something is going on. So here's his targets over the last few weeks. So he had 6 in week 6, 6 in week 7, 5 in week 8, which was 5 in week 8 was his second lowest of the season, but then 11 against San Francisco. 6 receptions, 104 yards against San Francisco is a very, very solid game. And in a game where the Jacksonville Jaguars scored 3 points. So what did he get you? 14.4, which is 2 over expected in a week against, I picked him against San Francisco to be my start of the week. So I think that changes things. I'll accept that.
Yeah.
So yeah, 89% of the snap share, which is his highest on the year as well. So his highest snap percentage and one of the best games of the season for him, considering the opponent. So
yeah. And so, you got to pick your battles with Christian Kirk, right?
Yep.
He's not one of those studs that you just roll out there every single week, regardless of matchup, and hope for the best.
He's a great flex play every single week because he's gone. So his totals: week 2, 21, week 3, 15, 4, 16, 5, 14, 6, 13, 7, 19, 8 against Pittsburgh, and then 14. So he's, like I said, he's been dead ringer for that 12 to 15.
Yep. He's currently the wide receiver 19 on the season.
Yep.
And he's one of those where it's, if he finishes top 20, that's still higher than any projection or most projections that people had for him coming into the year, because they thought Calvin Ridley was just going to take over and be a top 10 wide receiver.
Yep.
I'll be honest, myself included. I thought Calvin Ridley was going nuclear this year.
I did draft Christian Kirk though, because I did expect him to be a solid second option.
Absolutely. If you like nabbed Christian Kirk later in the draft because of the Calvin Ridley hype, good on you. Absolutely. It was funny because I called my shot on Christian Kirk last year. I was like, oh, they're paying him all this money. They're paying him as a wide receiver 1.
Yep.
He's going to be a wide receiver 1. And it worked out great for me.
It did. Yep.
And then I completely changed my tune coming into this year. It was kind of the same logic of like, oh, he's not the wide receiver 1 on the depth chart anymore.
Yeah. And then they also had 3 that were going to be coming in competing for targets at the beginning of the year. So
yeah. But Zay Jones kept getting hurt. Calvin Ridley, I don't know.
Don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened. He blew up week 1, and then
his number,
a couple things here and there, but
his number turned into his production.
Yeah.
0.
So anyway, we can move on from Christian Kirk.
On to your next, sir.
Yes. So I mentioned that Noah Brown was one of my top 2 favorite calls from last week.
Yes.
Here's my other. Trey McBride, Arizona Cardinals, finished as the tight end 2 with 21.1 PPR points last week.
Great call.
It was a combination of the matchup and which again Atlanta. They played Atlanta, which their interior defense really, like their all the defenders they have in the box is just they're not really there. They've been kind of middle of the pack, and so Arizona's not a good team. And so when you look at all that, you're like, okay, this should be a close game, meaning the Cardinals should not be running the ball all too much, and you're getting your supposed upgrade at quarterback back that week. Roll them out, throw them at the dartboard, see what sticks, and this definitely did. I'm not going to pretend that I was saying with I was projecting Trey McBride to finish as the tight end 2 on the week, but I had faith that Kyler Murray was going to come back and do his thing.
Yep.
He had to throw to someone, right? And so that's where this came in and, paid great dividends for me. So I think Trey McBride, especially with Zach Ertz on IR, I think Trey McBride is one of those guys that you can feel pretty comfortable with kind of plugging a hole at the tight end position. So
what does this mean? Open this pit up.
So this can mean a couple different things. So
let's break down his verbiage.
Yeah. Let's analyze here, right? So Chris, in one of our redrafts leagues, as we affectionately call our big money leagues, he has Trey McBride, and I actually approached him the other night about trading for Trey McBride, and he wanted everything in the world for him, valuing him as a top tight end in the league. I said, I think you and me are vastly different on our values of Trey McBride.
I think he's probably going to be one of the tops. His athletic scores coming into the league were absurd. And
so, I think Trey McBride is going to be a good tight end the rest of the year.
I'd say he's probably top 8 dynasty moving forward.
Dynasty, I would agree.
Yeah.
Dare I say top 6 dynasty tight end?
Yeah.
Because
and I would say probably top 8 for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I'd probably put him in that 8 to 10 range for the rest of the season tight end.
I might even move him up. I think 8 might be a little low, but
sure.
I get your reasoning because we've seen it for 1 week. So
let's keep in mind the team he's on, right? They had a good tight end matchup this week.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Falcons are not a good team against the tight end position in fantasy football. That they're not playing the Atlanta Falcons every single week.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the same division as the San Francisco 49ers.
To counter that, though, Kyler Murray probably didn't, play his normal game because he's first game off injury. So he might, improve over these next few weeks. And clearly Trey McBride is a very big option for him because he can't see. So Trey McBride's the only person who can see.
Yeah. But here's my biggest point with Trey McBride, right? As far as pumping the brakes on him. You get 3 games with Trey McBride before the fantasy playoffs because he has a week 14 bye. So that is a built-in discount to me. And then
but that's not a reason to knock him down. You can't use that in your argument.
I'm using it to compound my argument, not necessarily as an argument alone.
Okay.
Because 2 of the 3 weeks in the fantasy playoffs, to include the fantasy championships, he has to play the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Those are not defenses that I would feel comfortable rolling Trey McBride out for.
However, that if all they throw to is Trey McBride, he's gonna have good games. It'll be like Christian Kirk's 14 against San Francisco when they scored 3 points.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that if you put all of your eggs into one basket, being Trey McBride, you better be ready for the tears that are going to be scrolling down your face when he puts up 4 points against San Francisco.
Well, I wouldn't put all of my eggs in the basket. I never said that. I just said I think he's probably a top 8 tight end rest of the season, maybe top 6.
Sure. Because the drop off from top 4 or 5 tight ends to 6 and 7 is pretty vast.
Well, I'll say top 5 then, because you're at 8 to 10. So you can't then say, well, 6 isn't that high.
I say Trey McBride as one of those, he's there. He's not going to disappoint you too much. but it's one of those. Don't think you have the next fucking Mark Andrews. All right. Don't expect Travis Kelce.
Mark Andrews the rest of the season isn't going to do very well. So
obviously,
use another name. Travis Kelce.
Don't expect Travis Kelce production.
I think he'll beat Mark Andrews the rest of the season.
Yeah. Is he officially done for the season, by the way? Mark Andrews?
I believe so. I'm pretty sure.
That's rough.
That's tough. Tough.
Let's take a minute here because I actually want to hear your thoughts on this.
For Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
All right. What's my thoughts? What thoughts on what?
So, because one thing that I noticed a lot of, there were a lot of injuries last night.
Yep.
Last night specifically. This is what I'm talking about last night. Two, I want to know, what are your thoughts on the turf discussion? As far as like Achilles and stuff like, and ACLs and stuff like that.
Yeah, grass is better.
Turf versus, grassy or
grass
like
is better.
Grass.
Yeah, grass is better.
And additionally, what's your thoughts on the hip drop tackle method?
I don't think it should be hip drop. It's a tackle. It's simple. I don't know why we're naming tackles, that we're just renaming tackles to make them bad, to where how are the players going to be able to tackle? Like Mark Andrews was running, Mark Andrews is a very large human being, very difficult to tackle.
Yep.
He's running from behind full speed. He grabs a hold of him and just tries his best to pull him down and use his strength and use gravity to pull him down. It was a tackle. He got hurt. It's football. We're trying to basically take the defender's ability to tackle away, and it's going to be impossible to play the game. Yeah, that was just so ridiculous to me. It's called football for a reason. The inherent risk is there, and it's not a dirty play. So I think, of course, diving in like sideways to their knee, that's different. But you can't tackle high, you can't tackle low, and you can't tackle in the hip, apparently. So good luck.
Yeah. No, okay. I just wanted to see if we were close as far as what our thoughts were with that.
Are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, more so to an extent. I think there is if you're trying to tackle someone from behind, you don't have a lot of other options of grab and pull down, right? That's how it is. I just thought it was interesting, almost like coincidental, that it seemed like every single player that was getting hurt last night, especially for the Ravens, Logan Wilson was the one on the tackle. He was the one on the tackle for Mark Andrews. He was the one on the tackle for Lamar Jackson when he came up hobbling. He was the one on the tackle for Odell Beckham Jr. with his shoulder. Now, not all of those were from behind hip drop.
Right.
I just wanted to at least note the interesting aspect that the same player was there on what seemed to be every single injury.
Yeah, but the thing about it is maybe that's just the way it's drilled into him to tackle. You know what I'm saying? And maybe it leads to more injuries. However, how would they put that rule into place? It would be so ambiguous. It would be like a catch. We'd never know. Or roughing the passer, they'd never get the call consistent. Targeting, none of these, they can't get the calls right. So last thing we need is more rules for the officiating to screw up. But yeah, I just think the defenders are, go try to tackle a guy like Tyreek Hill and have to think, I can't hit him high, I can't hit him low. Right. Oh God, he's gone. Peace. Yeah.
No, I definitely think that the rules are set up for an offensive football.
Yeah, we need to stop that before it gets impossible to tackle. Mystical Mixes got a trade question.
Okay.
It's a good trade. Non-PPR, Jamar Chase, Kyron Williams for James Conner and Brandon Ayuk. He has Etienne Hall, Pacheco, and Javonte. So really good running backs. Jeez, that's a great running back room. For James Conner and Ayuk. I mean, honestly, I like it if you're looking for just balance. Of course, Chase is the big name of it, but I don't know what your wide receivers look like, but as far as the balance goes, Ayuk has, Joe Burrow got hurt, so that's going to knock Chase down a peg. Ayuk is a wide receiver one, locked and loaded in that offense. That's very good. So, he might outperform Jamar Chase rest of season, and then James Conner, you just got to worry about injury. But I like that trade. I like the Conner Ayuk type.
So here's my deal. First of all, thank you for your question. Definitely appreciate you coming into the show. And what I'm about to say to you is not any indication of how I feel about you or your support for the show. I don't like this trade at all.
Interesting.
I wouldn't trade Jamar Chase for James Conner and Brandon Ayuk alone. I don't care what the rest of the team looks like.
It's not dynasty. It's not dynasty.
I'm aware. But you said it yourself, Jamar Chase, it is what it is. Jake Browning showed, competency in at least throwing the football to running the offense last week against one of the best defenses in the league. If not arguably the best defense in the league currently.
Don't forget, T. Higgins got to come back too. Targets.
Sure, I get that. But
I own Jamar Chase too, so
I'm looking at this guy's running backs or gals. He's got Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, Isaiah Pacheco, and Javonte.
I see that.
I'm okay with keeping Kyron Williams on my IR because I know I'm not hurting for depth. I don't need James Conner there. And at that point, I'm getting a downgrade from Jamar Chase to Brandon Ayuk. Now, Brandon Ayuk's doing his thing. I would rather keep Jamar Chase.
But the stronger side is Conner and Ayuk. And with this league, with this running back room, I'm thinking maybe it's a small league. I'm taking the balance side because Ayuk, like I said, there's the potential just with T. Higgins coming back and Browning running that Bengals offense that Ayuk finishes better than Jamar Chase rest of season. I see your point though, because Jamar Chase in and of himself is, a guy who can come out and drop 30, 40 points, Yeah. But I just think the balance of the other side I like. And especially if, he can use, James Conner for a running back needy team, flip another trade out of it. But I see what you're saying. I nobody's ever upset with having Jamar Chase on their team.
Right.
And depending on the wide receiver room, but just looking at it on the surface, I like it. But I see your point because it's a pretty even trade,
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sound as if I think this is egregiously bad. I'm not calling collusion or anything on this trade.
Well,
if
I
see
like
it in
it,
my
so
league.
He's getting half and half.
But the way I'm looking at it, specifically with Jake Browning coming in at quarterback, if Zach Taylor has any intellect whatsoever, he's going to do exactly what the Jets are doing in the absence of Aaron Rodgers. They're going to tell their backup quarterback, hey, you're not as good as our starter. Go out there. We're going to run the ball. And when we throw it, you're going to have to hyper target your best receiver. That's Jamar Chase. They're doing the same thing with Garrett Wilson and Zach Wilson. Garrett Wilson has the highest target share in the league, by the way, right now.
But there's T. Higgins. There's T. Higgins.
Sure. T. Higgins has missed how many weeks now?
But still, you can't.
No, I get it. This is more a genuine question at this point.
We could segue into the Joe Burrow injury from this too.
We can, absolutely. Because, unless you want to talk about Taysom Hill being your tight end start of the week. But
I don't know. Did he kill it?
He had 4 points.
Damn. All right. Why'd you got to throw it out there, dude? I took that offline, man. Hold on. Let me go sabotage you real quick.
There you go. Yeah. But
yeah. So I don't remember what you were saying, but because we were talking about the Joe Burrow injury, but I still kind of get your point, but
it was hard. More of a
with the offense, with Browning and
it was just because Joe Burrow's hurt and he's out doesn't mean that Jamar Chase is.
He
not
takes a big
Jamar
hit.
Chase.
He takes a big hit though.
I think he takes.
Look
he
at
takes
Kupp.
a hit. I don't know how big of a hit it is.
Look at Cooper Kupp. Look at the hit they're taking because they have two receivers that need to be targeted, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. And I'm sure they're telling him to hyper target Kupp or Puka, and it's not really working that well. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out though.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
Jamar Chase's upside is hard to look away from for sure.
For sure. These are the type of questions that was what we had in mind when we created CheesyCorn Sports, or the idea of CheesyCorn Sports.
The debate.
So Justin likes it. I don't. We're moving on.
You trade mystical mixes. And Chris said you traded for Joe Burrow. He wanted to throw that in your face. So
yeah. Well.
All right. Well, let's get over into the Joe Burrow injury news. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the effect it'll have on potentially on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. But overall, the sprained wrist, and I don't know if you saw the video, but there was a guy who actually apparently pointed it out before the game started, that there was a picture that people saw after the Texans game of him getting off the bus with a brace on his wrist. And then he went back to the Texans game, and I don't remember which play it was, but one of them, he goes to throw and his hand kind of gets hit by the defensive lineman. And it kind of gets pinned against his chest plate. So they're pointing to that as probably where he injured it. Now there's the whole sue the NFL or sue the Bengals or punish the Bengals because they didn't disclose that he even had an injury. They didn't have on any injury report or anything like that, So what's your take on that? For fantasy, of course, it's dirty to do that, but what's your take?
Yeah. Well, so here, just real quick, I want to pull this up here. Right.
Yep.
Boom. Okay. So you're looking here. Yeah, it seems like there's some sort of wrist brace. Bengals head coach Zach Taylor denies any knowledge of pre-existing wrist injury. It's interesting. I don't know if I have a full opinion on it right now because this is the first time I'm seeing this.
I saw the video earlier. The guy showed the clip of the video where the injury happened.
Okay.
Against Texans.
I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm sure Zach Taylor has to deny this just to save the Bengals because
of course
they can't really prove it,
Right.
So unless on the sideline they saw them tending to him or anything like that, which it would have probably already surfaced. So I don't think any punishment can be levied.
I think Zach Taylor probably has the plausible deniability at his back, kind of like, hey, it's fucking week 11 of the NFL season. Everyone is getting iced. Everyone is getting wrapped at some fucking point.
However, this happens a lot with the Bengals. Looking at you, T. Higgins. Yeah. So, multiple instances of this, where T. Higgins is healthy, comes out and plays a snap and doesn't see the field again. Again, detrimental.
Old fucking Timmy 2 snap strikes again.
Timmy 2 snaps. Joe Burrow's injury overall, though, how do you think this impacts the Bengals' rest of season? Because with the loss to the Texans, they were knocked out of the playoff picture. The Texans then got the tiebreaker. So obviously the Ravens are the team to beat. So it looks like it'll be a battle for the wild card spot, but I don't think there's any chance that they get in at this point with the teams that are there in the wild card picture with them. They also have to play the Texans again. I believe so. Yeah. I don't think they get in. I think this is going to really, really derail their any shot they have.
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be a different story if they were in the NFC, but the fact that they're in the AFC and the AFC is so competitive and so tight, it makes it incredibly difficult for them to make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah.
They are currently 5-5. Now they're without their franchise quarterback for the rest of the season.
Yep.
They already had their bye week, so there's no extra fucking play there.
Yep.
The Texans are emerging as a playoff contender. That wasn't something that
Super Bowl contender.
Saw. The AFC East top 3 teams are all within 2 games of each other.
Yep.
Trying to think here. Okay, so currently as it would stand, I think the Ravens would be the 1 seed, Chiefs would be the 2.
Yep.
Dolphins 3, Jags 4. The 5 seed would go to the Steelers at 6-3, and the Browns are also 6-3.
Yep.
So that's the 5 and 6 seed, and then you got.
However, Deshaun's out now.
Right. Right. So, I'm just going off of like the current standings as it is.
Yeah, for sure.
The Texans are 5-4, and they're trending up.
Yep.
The Colts are also 5-5, and they have a much easier rest of season schedule than the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
And Jonathan Taylor's coming out parties happening.
Yep.
So
the Bills still are 5-5. They're still, looking to make the playoffs. The Raiders have emerged with Antonio Pierce at head coach. By the way, I do kind of want to talk about Antonio Pierce with the Raiders and what he has turned around.
Yep.
Because I think that is absolutely worth mentioning and talking about.
Sure. Absolutely.
But then you still have Justin Herbert with the Chargers. You have the Jets at 4-5 as well. There are so many teams out there. There's only 2 teams that I confidently say with a guarantee are not making the playoffs out of the AFC, and that is the Titans and the Patriots.
Yep.
That's it. Everyone else has a record good enough to make a push.
Yeah. And at this point, losing your quarterback is going to knock you right out of that.
Yeah. I don't think the Bengals make the playoffs.
I don't think they even get close. I think, and also with Browning, a lot of times these quarterbacks will come in and they'll have success, but now they got some film on them. So we'll see. Doesn't look promising whatsoever. So anything else on the Burrow injury? Before you want to talk about the Raiders coach, we can transition.
Just kind of a secondary collateral impact. Do you think that Joe Mixon is a trade deadline buy low to go get? I
hate Joe Mixon, but
I know how you feel about Joe Mixon. I feel a lot of the same.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think the impact to the offense, the negative impact to the offense, I think that might hurt him a little bit, or at least keep him right where he is. I think that's he will be a good check down option and stuff like that, and they may integrate him more in the game, but just the lack of yardage they'll be getting in comparison to what the Bengals normally get, I just think there's not enough yardage to go around.
Sure. For that. Okay. So. Cool. I just wanted to see where you were at with that.
Yep. All right. Raiders, get into it.
Man, Antonio Pierce is built to be the Raiders head coach. If they don't turn him from interim into full-time head coach for the Raiders, they messed up again. You can tell it's the same exact team from 3 weeks ago with Josh McDaniel.
Yep.
And here they are on the heels of back-to-back wins. I don't know who the fuck they're playing this week. I haven't looked at it.
I don't know either.
Where are we at?
Not sure. I can find it real quick.
I'm going backwards on the fucking calendar. My bad. They play the Chiefs. All right, maybe they don't win this one, but then they play the Vikings, and they're resurging as well. So that's actually a very interesting game. Yep. Then they play the Chargers, who seem to have all the talent in the world, but can't seem to get out of their own fucking head coach's way.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got the Chiefs again, but then they have the Colts and they have the Broncos to finish the season out.
Yep.
They can win at least 3 of those games.
Yep.
If not 4 of those games. Because the Chiefs are not the Kansas City Chiefs that have won 2 of the 3 past Super Bowls.
They're absolutely not. They're not good.
And I know you were waiting for me to say something like that.
Always.
So and we have seen time and time again, with these divisional matchups, you saw it with the Chiefs and with the Chiefs and Broncos, right? Where the Chiefs come out and they just, it's a divisional opponent. They're just not playing as good. And now that the Raiders have some hype, one of these 2 games is going to be in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
There is a chance that the Chiefs do end up dropping one of these games. I'm not saying I would predict it, but there's a chance. I know you will. If there's anyone to say that the Chiefs are going to get swept, it's going to be you.
It'll be me.
So,
go.
But
if the officials don't help, if the officials don't help them,
right. But yeah, they can easily beat the Chargers. They can beat the Colts. they can beat the Broncos, and they can beat the Vikings.
Yep.
If they keep rolling with the momentum of Antonio Pierce and the way he has this culture shift in the locker room.
Mhm.
You can just tell that the players have bought in from day one with Antonio Pierce. They have the talent to do so. Just get your playmakers the ball, right?
Yep. And to Jackson's point, and to your point, what he says here, something like that, maybe jumping the gun. However, players are going to rally around that too.
Yep.
So that might be able to springboard some momentum into this, this stretch here, if they make him the head coach.
Yep.
So that's as like he says next, he's a great motivator. So and
Absolutely.
the players will be ecstatic about that. So.
Yep. I'm not saying I'm predicting the Raiders to make the playoffs because we just went over the
right.
The top heaviness or just the overall strength of the AFC.
Yep.
But Antonio Pierce, I think they can make their head coach permanently, and they can definitely build something over the next couple of years.
I think it needs a little more time, but I think eventually they will. But I'm not sure how to look this year. I think it's going to be a lot of inconsistencies. However, how do you feel this impacts fantasy? Jacobs and Devontae. How I think Jacobs has had over 21 touches each of the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Devontae still though not really involved. So, do you think Devontae will get that together? And how do you think this impacts the offense in general? Those two in general.
Well, the one thing that I liked regarding Devontae Adams, right?
Yep.
That in that primetime game against the Jets, he had 13 targets. So it was pretty clear, and that was on Sauce Gardner too. So it was pretty clear that someone somewhere looked at Aiden O'Connell and said, "Look, man, hey, 1-7 out there, one of the best fucking wide receivers in the league.
Yep.
Throw him the ball, and he will make you look a lot better than you probably are."
Yeah.
And so hopefully they can look back at that and say, "Hey, look, he only had 6 catches, out of the 13 targets. So the efficiency might not have been there, but that's kind of been the whole story, even when Devontae Adams was putting up numbers earlier in the year.
Right.
Just the efficiency's not there. So just pepper him with volume. And then eventually he's going to get a catchable pass. He will catch the pass, and he's going to do something with it. So they got Miami next week, or this week. I'm sorry. They got Miami, and it's not it's not the best matchup. It's not the worst matchup. I still think that Miami's defense is being heavily carried by their offense.
Yeah,
a lot of the time.
If they get into a shootout and they get behind, gonna be a lot of passes going out.
Sure, absolutely. So I think Devontae Adams will be fine. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. I think Devontae Adams will be fine. I don't think you're going to see a lot of 2-point games out of Devontae Adams the rest of the year.
I think he'll stay around where he is, maybe a slight uptick.
Yeah.
He won't get no 40-point games again.
Nope.
So,
which, by the way, that was the last game that he actually had a touchdown in.
Yeah. That was the week after I traded him, so I thought I messed up, and then it started going better.
Look at you.
So, Josh Jacobs, just looking at his last couple weeks versus the previous weeks, snap percentage 78 and up to 83% last week, whereas it was 66% the week prior. His touches have gone up from what he had 11 week 7, 15 week 8, 26 week 9, 27 week 10 against the Jets, who are a pretty stout run defense. So the volume is definitely there.
Yes.
Josh Jacobs is going to eat, I think, in this new offense. And then with Devontae, he had 7 targets against Detroit, 7 targets against the Giants, and then 13 against the Jets. So already right there an uptick. And, just with him, not a lot of touchdowns this year. He had 1 week 2. And like you said, his last one was week 3, where he had a couple. And that right there is going to be the difference, because I don't think necessarily his production elsewhere will uptick, but I think his touchdowns will uptick. And I think that's what's going to be the biggest impact to him, positive impact to him. So, yeah.
I don't think Josh Jacobs is in danger at all.
No, I think he's going to improve.
Josh Jacobs is very, very quietly the RB4 on the season. And he's the RB4 with only 2 games over 20 fantasy points on the season.
Yep.
Just very consistent. He had 1 5-point game, and then every other game has been 9 points or higher. He's just very, very consistent in that 9 to 15 point realm.
Yep.
And with the boomer bust nature and injuries going on around the rest of the league, he's sitting there and he's putting up a great season for himself.
Yep.
He's definitely not going to hit the 327 PPR points he did last year.
Probably not. No. But
it does look that the RB landscape overall this year is just not scoring as much.
Yep.
So yeah, if you have Josh Jacobs, and with this whole Raider thing, I wouldn't worry about it whatsoever.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Sorry, I was chatting with old producer in the background. My apologies.
No, you're good. I'm looking at it right now.
I think it improves both of them. So I guess we can touch on that real quick, and then we can touch on that real quick. So we'll go into the Zay Jones arrest real quick, and then we'll finish off with the CJ Stroud quick little MVP conversation. So I got it up here, looking into a little bit. It was domestic. We talked about the Jaguars earlier, Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley. So the fantasy impact, of course, selfishly looking at the fantasy impact, of course,
that's what we do. We're not attorneys. We're fantasy football analysis.
Not making light of the situation at all, but there's less targets to go there. But Tuesday we called to home Monday, his home Monday, domestic battery, according to the incident report. So the victim said she was visiting her child's father and the family when she got into an argument with Jones. The report states she told police that Jones was upset because she was taking their child to Orlando, where she lives. They observed small scratches on the victim's neck, consistent with marks from a fingernail. Obviously, in the report, Jones was arrested without incident, the report states. So, bond $2,500, and he's going to be arraigned on December 6th. So, that is very big news. Very big news. Not only for the Jaguars, who are struggling, but Zay Jones, of course, now his future is in question in the league in general. So, and of course, terrible situation all around. You hate to see something like that, but figured we'd touch on it real quick just in case anybody hasn't seen it. Chaney, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, when it comes to stuff like this, when this news breaks out, I usually like to kind of sit and wait for the entire story. Because I don't usually like to take such a strong opinion on something and then get led completely one way, and then more news comes out and I look like an idiot. So,
but that's generally why, it's just the potential that this could hurt him moving forward, in general, and playing the NFL, depending on the outcome. But
absolutely.
Not a lot here to go on, just the fingernail scratches. You never know.
The NFL generally likes to wait for court proceedings and full actual criminal proceedings to take full effect before they make a ruling on the player and their status.
Yeah, this may settle out of court though. So
so he's listed as out for this week. But I mean, there's more than likely there's going to be no NFL.
He won't play the rest of the season, I don't think.
What's that?
He won't play the rest of the season. He's being arraigned on December 19th. I don't think he plays the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way he plays.
Yeah. Okay. So he's been listed as questionable as of 4 hours ago for this week.
Yeah. Me personally, I think that might be bad optics, but I could be wrong. I could be dead wrong. So
no, I personally think it would be bad optics.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's an optics question. That's not there's going to be no NFL ruling saying he cannot play.
Right, because there's still nothing proven that he had any wrongdoing. So it's really hard to get into that. However, I just think Jaguars and the NFL might save face and just try to prevent that from happening. So
yeah,
we'll see. All right, let's get into a little bit of Stroud MVP conversation. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So let's go ahead and start off with the obvious. Leads the NFL in passing yards. We all know that. Last week had a great performance coming off of the greatest rookie performance we've ever seen. CJ Stroud looks to be probably the best if, clearly Andrew Luck, Cam Newton had great rookie seasons, but he's right up there in that echelon of those guys. And with the numbers playing out the way they are right now, he will beat those numbers. So right now he leads the league in passes over 25 yards, and it's not particularly close. Passing yards, I believe he's 8th in touchdown and 6th in QBR. So a lot to like here, but with the conversation, a lot is being put onto the Texans record. And I will get into in a second why I think that's a bogus conversation. So first off, Chaney, let's get your Green Bay Packer perspective, since obviously people might call me biased. I'm not. I never am biased, never have been in my life towards anything or anybody. I treat everybody as an equal. So
unless your name's Patrick Mahomes or Steph Curry.
Hey, chill out. I know what you're talking about. Fair and balanced, okay? Fair and balanced. I had Patrick Mahomes in my top 6 quarterbacks last week.
Yeah. So I was just looking at the most up-to-date odds race for MVP, right?
Yep.
CJ Stroud currently sitting at 6th in the MVP race at plus 2,000 odds, climbing into the top 10 for the first time.
Let's go over who's ahead of him. And we both can answer.
Exactly what I was going to do. Joe Burrow's ahead of him. He's dropping. So he's moving ahead.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson is ahead of him. Lamar Jackson has not been playing well. It seems like every single time we bring up, Lamar Jackson is playing like an MVP, blah, blah, blah. He plays worse and worse. The team is playing well.
Exactly.
But Lamar, personal statistics-wise, is not.
Correct.
So
yeah, CJ Stroud over him for sure.
Currently, I would put CJ Stroud over Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Tua Tagovailoa is 3rd. And
A-Chain's coming back.
Yeah.
They might run the ball a lot more. We'll see. Tua has played really good this season, but there have been moments where that offense can put up 50 points and he gets maybe 18 fantasy,
So there is the ongoing, kind of running joke that the Dolphins, they can't beat anyone above 500.
Yep.
And so
because they haven't once, right?
Right. They have yet to do so this year. So I'm looking at it here, right? Tua is 4th in completion percentage. He's 3rd in passing yards. He's tied for 1st in passing touchdowns. And
who is this?
Tua.
Oh, yeah.
And he has seven picks on the season. Okay.
Yep.
So,
and what is his yardage at? CJ Stroud's at 2,600 something.
CJ Stroud and Tua Tagovailoa are 15 passing yards apart.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because CJ Stroud has had a slower start to the season.
Yeah.
And Tyreek.
Tua had a electric top.
Yeah. And it's kind of,
and it's kind of like tapered back. So
yeah, exactly.
I think they're kind of like intersecting right now.
Yep.
Which is why I'm kind of having a tough time in like deciding.
Yeah.
Because their numbers look very similar.
I think it's fair to leave Tua above him right now.
I would say so.
Yep.
And then you have, hold on. That was third. Then you have Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes in 2 and 1. Correct.
Patrick Mahomes, no shot. No shot. Jalen Hurts, yes. Patrick Mahomes, no shot. He has not played well this year. He has like 8 interceptions on the season. He has like 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, something like that.
Well, I think there's a lot of top quarterbacks that actually have a decent amount of picks this year. Like we can dive into that.
Stroud, but that counts. So hey, that's
Stroud,
what puts
right
him ahead.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. But they're going. But the Chiefs, 2 officiating victories, right? People keep throwing record into this. Well, let's take record into account, okay?
Yep.
CJ Stroud put the Texans in a position to win against the Panthers and the Falcons. He drove them down the field on the last offensive possession in both of those games.
Yep.
The defense then gave up the game losing field goals, right?
Yep.
And we had the lead in those games.
We have
what is happening?
Special environment.
I think an ad's playing.
Comfortable.
Is that you or me?
It's an ad. Spectrum Medicine. There's your free advertisement. God dang it. Smart. Anyways, where was I at? Record. Oh yeah, the record thing. Yeah. So both of those games. So the Texans win those games. What, we're 7-2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes hasn't played well this year and has had the officials help him in 2 of his victories.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if we're doing record, like, how do you use that against him? Because again, in those 2 games, Stroud did what he needed to do to put us in a position to win, and then that happened. You know,
yeah.
That's my thing on it. So, the record conversation to me is kind of bogus. You know, it's not like, and the Texans have literally the worst receiving group of all of these teams listed.
Yeah.
And have the worst team. If he was taken out of the Texans, we would be horrendous. Right. You remove these other guys from these teams, they're probably still getting 9 wins. The Texans will be back at 3.
Yeah. Okay, so with that being said, go ahead and list in order your top 4 MVP candidates right now.
So I will go Hurts, Tua, Stroud, Lamar.
Hurts, Tua, Stroud, Lamar.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
What's yours?
I'm probably rolling Hurts. I don't know if you know what? I'll do it. Stroud, 2. Tua, 3. And then you could literally, for me, you could interchange
Herbert, 2.
Herbert's not doing bad.
He has the potential to put up so many numbers because of that defense is so bad.
I don't know.
But
I think at number 4, you could interchange. I just fucking had the name. Jeez, dude, what the fuck? Lamar or Mahomes for me.
Ooh, gross.
So
how dare you?
Yeah. I'm discounting Mahomes for a lot of the same reasons that you and I just talked about.
I got Mahomes right behind Josh Dobbs.
You heard it here, folks. The guy that has never been biased a day in his life.
I have CJ Stroud lower than you in the MVP conversation.
It's true.
So I'm proven to be not biased. Before I said that,
I don't know if that proves it, but
I mean, it's our first show on Friday, and I've already been unbiased once. So we're coming up gate hot.
There you go.
Everybody believe me. Proof's in the pudding. So
interesting note, real quick. Sam Howell leads the league in passing yards.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, that's beautiful, actually. I
fucking love Sam Howell, dude.
Sir Samuel Howell, who has been in my top 10 quarterbacks the last 2 weeks, because we are in love with Sam Howell. In the Commanders for some reason.
You want to know who has the second best touchdown to interception ratio in the league so far?
Hold on.
CJ Stroud is first.
Hold on. Yeah, he's first. Ooh, the clue. Dang, this is kind of tough.
I guarantee
not Dak Prescott,
not a name
right?
You're thinking of.
It's not Dak Prescott?
No.
Okay. Well, if you guarantee it's not a name I'm thinking of, I'll set a final answer. This is tough. I know Bryce Young's in the lead for reverse interception to touchdown ratio. Go ahead. Give it to me. I don't know.
Russell Wilson.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Russell Wilson has 18 passing touchdowns and 4 picks on the year.
That is the most disrespected a quarterback's ever been for having that ratio.
I mean, he doesn't throw.
He doesn't do it well.
A lot.
No,
he just throws touchdowns.
He gets a lot of those touchdowns after the offense has kind of already, he's not getting absurd numbers elsewhere. But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is.
Can't stand him.
He's 23rd in passing yards, sandwiched in between Zach Wilson and Desmond Ridder.
Yeah.
Both behind the likes of Jordan Love, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. But yeah.
You can have that. I'll take CJ Stroud.
I'll take it.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it. Anything else before we sign off of here?
No, I think we do have one question regarding a trade.
Oh, yeah.
Want our take on, but then we can wrap it up after that.
Traded Godwin and Stroud for Chase and Lockett. My team is Herbert, Pollard, Swift, CD, Waddle, Addison, Kittle, Goddard. So Godwin and Stroud for Chase and Lockett. So
I do a Houston fan.
I do, yeah. I do like the Chase and Lockett Stroud by a mile. I don't know how you got this to go through, but even as a big Houston Texans homer,
yeah,
Chase and Lockett, I have no idea how you swung this.
Yeah, because your team is now Justin Herbert, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Jalen Watt. Oh my gosh,
that's disgusting. Great trade.
Yeah, just
great trade.
Ask your commissioner for the league winnings now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whoever that guy is. Keep trading with him. Whoever that guy or girl is, keep trading with him.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know if you would anymore because you completely gutted their team.
Yeah, they might not trade with you ever again. So
good trade. Good job.
Great trade. Appreciate you dropping that in here, Raja. Raja. Sorry, I don't like to mispronounce people's names, so I apologize if I did. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in to the first edition of the Friday CheesyCorn Sports podcast. Remember to join us here Sundays, 2 hours before the game starts. It'll be just me this week. This Sunday, Chaney has to work, so that came up. So it'll be me solo this Sunday. Answer and start sits. You can put your trades in there, trade offers, or anything like that. We'll take call-ins and just hang out, talk some fantasy. 2 hours before the NFL games kick on. So if you don't mind leaving a like on the video, if you like the content, or drop a comment or subscribe, it really helps us out if you do any of the above. So we really appreciate everybody popping in here. No dedication, Chris. All right. We're slandering you at the very end when you can't defend yourself. So
I thought we had a truce, but hey, that's just me.
Yep. Big shout out to Corey, our producer, doing the behind the scenes stuff as we do this. It makes it a lot easier. So Toro Space shout out there. So yep, with that being said, we are going to sign off. Anything from you, Martin, before we head off?
Nope. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we're looking forward to rolling out this Friday show on a weekly basis.
Yep. So, tune in to stay updated on everything football, fantasy football, and and such. So, join us on Sunday and then next Friday. So we will see you on Sunday. Peace out, everybody.